In a world so mad, we're so glad you tuned into Lady Probs.
Hello, Lady Probs fans, and welcome to our virtual episode. As you might have heard, our state is now on strict lockdown. So from now on, we will be shooting Lady Probs from the safety of our own homes. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop. So if you are just tuning in for the first time, you're listening to Lady Probs podcast. We are your hosts, Kaylee and Brittany Winfield, and we are siblings who decided to talk about taboo topics that aren't necessarily talked about in society that affects women every day. So feel free to follow us on any of our social media sites. We are also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, really wherever you want to listen to this podcast. But we are going to roll right into it. Today's topic is Girls Support Girls, and we have a very special guest. Welcome to Katie Keenan. How you doing today, Katie?
Fabulous. How are you both?
Good.
We are good.
Good.
A little different, but we'll get used to it with this new format.
I feel like 2020 has just been like a roller coaster in general. So every time there's another loop-de-loop, I'm just like, here we go.
All right, I'll send you the Zoom link.
Time to get my popcorn and movie collection ready.
Yeah, right. I've been trying to figure out ways to like entertain myself. So I went to the library and picked up like a bunch of new books and I'll go to town on those. Yeah, but today we wanted to bring Katie into this episode. So Katie is one of my best friends from our college that we both attended in Vermont. And I've known Katie for, oh my God, it's almost been a decade, but I don't think we're there yet. It's been like 8 years or so.
At least until we drove across. Where were we driving to again?
Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Until we spent something like 20 hours in a van together in a very short amount of time.
Right. So Katie and I both, instead of going home for spring break, I was a freshman and you were a junior, I believe. And we decided to sign up for alternative spring break instead of going home. And we were sent on this, volunteer trip together. Katie, you were my group leader, and we just happened to be paired. I was put into your group, and as you said, we drove down to Washington, D.C. from Vermont and spent a lot of time getting to know each other. And, when we got back, we just never stopped hanging out.
I remember the trip was so funny in that, like, I was the group leader, and I remember I had a bunch of freshmen, sophomore, and you were all looking at me like I knew what this trip was going to be, and I had everything mapped out. And really, I was just like you all. I was just like, I think I'm driving. I think that's the only thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Just as unprepared, but it was really fun.
I think it made that trip so much more memorable, though. And, there's a bunch of us. I would say that you and I came out of this trip with the most bonded, and, we've been friends since that time. But that trip really brought all of those 8 individuals together, and, we still talk to a few of them. And yeah, it's a great time to just be able to, still be friends. And I know that you've helped me a lot throughout my life. During that time frame of undergrad, I saw you as a big sister. Like, I'm the oldest out of Kaylee and I, but you were the next best thing to a sibling. And I know that like our parents see you as one of their own daughters. So you've kind of become an honorary Winfield after all these years.
Oh, yeah, definitely become like a friend to me too. Like, I love seeing you around and hanging out with you and Brittany. And yeah, our family just adores you. So you're our older sister, Katie. So exciting.
Oh my gosh, you guys are making me blush. This is amazing. And I've always, I don't know, I've loved you both dearly. Like, whenever Brittany and I hang out, I'm always like, how's Kaylee? What's she up to? What's going on? Like, you're just another little sister, Kaylee, that I'm always like worried about and wondering where you are and what you're doing.
And on that point, like, I never felt unsafe at UVM I should have said UVM, but whatever. It's fine. University of Vermont, that's where we went. It's no secret anymore. So whenever we were hanging out, like, you were my social connection for people too. Like, when we had met, I was a freshman who was 6 hours away from home. I didn't know anybody. I signed up for this trip because I knew I was going to be bored going home. So it was just like something to do. And I'm so glad that, you know, it feels like fate brought us together, because then you became my friend that I could always rely on at college, where before that, like, I didn't have anybody to talk to. So, you know, there were times where, like, you know, either I was homesick or like things, you know, I had a bad night, and I could always text you at like 2:30 and be like, "Hey, can we talk? Like, something went down. Like, I need to talk about it with somebody or else I'm going to explode. Like, I can't wait. Like, I just need somebody to like calm me down right now." So, yeah, you were just always that, like, to me, you're the epitome of girls support girls. Like, it's just, you always had my back no matter how far away we were.
Wow. Thank you, Brittany. And I loved how, even though our lives went different directions when you transferred and I graduated, I loved how we still kept in touch. And then I remember when I moved back to our city and you were here, I loved how we were able to pick up like nothing had ever stopped.
Exactly. And like, I remember distinctly, so I had just moved out of my parents' house, and I had moved into my new apartment, and it was kind of like starting over again, even though like I was familiar with the territory, and you had texted me like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm coming over and I'm bringing coffee. Like, we are going to catch up because I haven't really seen you or heard from you in 2 years, but, you know, we're going to catch up." And you came over with an iced coffee, and we sat on the back porch and just talked for hours about just, we caught up in that 2 hour conversation and then never looked back. You know, after that, we started hanging out regularly. You introduced me to our other friends, and we just kind of reconnected. And it's a theme for today is just, how do we, you know, find those great people in our lives? How do we maintain them? And then how can we support, you know, whether it be female strangers that we meet while going out or our female friends? That's really going to be the topic of today. So when we come back, we're going to dive into that topic a little bit more, and stay tuned, everybody.
Okay, well, we are back, and today's topic is girls supporting girls. So, just to start things rolling, Katie, what does girls supporting girls mean to you? Like, how would you define it?
I would say, to start in a more broader concept, I believe as humans, we are made for connection. And that one of the things that makes life so beautiful is the different personal connections that you form with not only girls, but everyone. So I believe that's really what makes life worth living, is the people you meet and how we help each other and how we support each other and how we push each other to be the best versions of ourselves. So when I think of girls supporting girls, I think of just souls supporting souls. You know what I mean? Meeting each other, finding the ways that you're connected, either in the ways like your skills, your talents, or the ways that you're broken. Sometimes I believe the most beautiful friendships come out of connecting over your most insecure fears, or the things that you wonder about the most or trying to fix about yourself the most. I think that's somehow how you really connect to people. And then I think it's so important that after you connect with people, that you continue to connect and support each other. Because at the end of this life, like, this life is what? Like, this life is only so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's beautiful, Katie.
Right?
Oh.
Like, preach, let's go.
Poet, what is going on? Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think with females in general, there's some kind of underlying sisterhood that we go through the same problems. We experience the same things to some degree, and that even if you're a stranger or your best friends, like, you know, everybody needs a shoulder to lean on. Everyone needs that support because, like you said, life is short and everyone's going through their own stuff. So we gotta be there for each other. So,
and we don't know about what each other is going through unless we talk about it. You know, like, so many people, when they're struggling, will go silent or will isolate themselves and think that nobody understands them, when in reality, the person next to you is probably going through something so similar. So I don't know. I just believe human connection is so important for mental health in general.
Oh yeah. And I was doing a little bit of research before this episode because it is such a broad topic too. That was something that Kaylee and I really struggled on, is like, what do we actually want this episode to be about? And the first research, like academic journal that I found, actually showed that all humans want connection in the form of relationships and friendships. However, women tend to have that deeper intimacy faster, and there's almost like a language between us. A lot of people call it gossip, but it really is. It sometimes you have unspoken, silence can speak words more than words can sometimes. And as you said, Katie, especially now, while we're back into lockdown, it's so important to reconnect with people that you may not have connected with in a while. It's important to check on your friends, check on strangers, and just try your best to lift people's spirits, because the mental health industry, especially in Vermont, it's struggling right now. Everybody's struggling, no matter if you've experienced mental health issues prior to this pandemic. It's really hitting everybody. And I'm excited to explore, how do you support your female friends in your life?
I guess I think time. I believe in different love languages and how different people receive affection and validation through different ways. Some people do time, that's mine. Some people do words. Some people it's through gifts or affirmation or whatever. I believe just giving people time. And when you listen to people and you're spending time with them, really giving them your entire self. So that's one of the things I've been really trying to consciously do this year, is whenever I'm talking to people, I really try to stop what I'm doing and make sure I'm giving them my entire attention, to try to show them that, hey, I hear your words. I'm validating. I want to know more about what you're saying and how you're feeling. So that's how I believe that we support each other, is by just giving each other the time of day, but like a full attention time a day.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And as you said, the 5 love languages, I can't remember this person's last name, but his first name is Gary. It writes the book on the 5 love languages. Mine is action. So to your point, yours is time, mine is action. What I see between you and I is when we spend time together, one important thing that we do is we put our phones away, and we don't, like, we're not scrolling on Instagram. It was funny because Kaylee and I were preparing for this episode, and Kaylee had said, Brittany, can you send me a photo of you and Katie, so that way we could promote this episode on social media? And I am not even kidding. I scoured our Facebook pages. I scoured our Instagram pages. I scoured our Snapchat pages. I went through every single one of my photos dating back until 2012. We have one photo of us, which says, like, I swear we spend a lot of time together, but it's not about the taking selfies. It's not about showing our friendship off on Facebook. It's not about the shallow pieces. We went deeper than that. And I definitely think that you give your time, I give my actions, and together that makes like a great friendship. Having an understanding of what people's 5 love languages are, what may be different for somebody may be different for somebody else. So I think that's a great point you brought up.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I feel loved the most when people ask me questions. So it might go along with Katie's time. Like, I love in friendships when people are like, hey, last time I saw you, you were working here. How is that going? You told me you're doing this. How's that? Like, I love that. And I try to replicate that for other people too, to figure out what their passions are, and remembering their passions the next time you talk to them, because if it's that important to them, like, I should care about it too.
Mm-hmm. So I'm always so flattered when people remember previous conversations and ask about it again, because you know how many things are running through your head and how many jobs and schedules. So the fact that someone took the time to file something away, like, oh, last time I talked to you, you were struggling with this. How is it now? I remember I'm always just like, oh, thank you. Oh.
Yeah.
So flattered. Yeah. I'm like, I am so happy to see that you guys still have such a strong friendship with each other because I think it really is hard making friends out of college and high school. Um, my experience has been a little bit different from Brittany's college experience, where Brittany went to 2 years a university, transferred to another 2 year university, and she got all of these friends out of it because she was living in the dorms, doing activities. Where me, I went to community college and lived at home, so I was still with my high school friends. And then I moved up here, took 2 year gap year, and then now I'm at a university and I'm in my senior year, but now it's all virtual. So it's kind of hard. I'm lacking that connection. And I think I did find a good group of friends from work. Work is like a secret gem of friendships because you're dealing with the same customers. You can relate. But I think it's kind of crazy and so hard. Like, how do you make friends outside of college? Because you're constantly in the same area with each other. Now you have a job and like, do you join a kickball league? Like, what do you do?
I have to agree with you. A lot of my closest friends have come from jobs, to be honest. My current job, so I'm a teacher, and I am so blessed to be on this amazing team with 5 other teachers. There's 6 of us all together. And we spend so much time together, and we are constantly talking about the same clients, students, and supporting each other and jumping in and giving each other ideas. And before the pandemic, like, there was no divide between that's your kid, this is my kid. We were swapping kids all the time, and we like really took pride in supporting each other. So definitely job is definitely a great outlet to find friends because you have that deep vulnerability and passion, and that's why you're in that field. So you have that in common to make that connection. Other ways to make friends. I mean, I think the friends that last too, from college, from high school, from anything in your previous life are so important because at one point you did connect over something, and being able to, it's a lot of work, but I believe that's also something really beautiful about female friendship is that some female friendships are a lot of work, but I think the most beautiful ones are the ones that you don't have to water every day. They're like the succulents of female friendship. You water them once a month. And like,
I love that.
I think that's why Brittany and I have lasted so long. Because I think we're each other's succulents in a way.
Yeah,
like we don't have to talk every day. We talk once a month. Sometimes we'll go weeks. But when we do talk, it's like no time.
No time has passed. And I think to your point, Kaylee, like when you and I both moved here, like listeners need to remember that you and I are 2.5 years apart. So when we came to this state, I was over the age of 21. You were under the age of 21. So I really struggled in that like going out aspect of life, which, you know, when you're 22 years old, that's all you want to do. You know, you just want to go to the bars and, you know, we had our activities that were age appropriate for you. And then, you know, I really struggled in finding friends to go do those more adult activities with. So that's another, you know, way that you and I connected, Katie, because, you know, when I was a freshman in college, obviously I wasn't going out with you and your friends when you were a junior and you were over the age. So I think that becoming a legal drinker, if you choose to drink, also opens up these avenues where, you know, you can invite people out, not anymore, obviously, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but in that point of my life where, you know, you weren't yet, Katie, up in the city, so you weren't an option geographically, I relied more on work, as you had said, but also thinking about the power of the internet. You know, I know Bumble, which is a very popular dating site, they have Bumble BFF where you can, it works just like Bumble, except with connecting strangers for friendships online. So there's options in today's technology day and age where you could reach out, and then as long as you carry that into an in-person friendship and you do it in a safe way, you have that option to, you know, bring people closer together. And but yeah, to your point, like the work friends, you need to find people that you're passionate about, whether it be joining clubs. There's also Meetup is a popular app that folks use that, there's like a gaming meetup. There's a just eating and socializing meetup. There's options to bring people closer together if you choose to use them.
Yeah, it's the courage of putting yourself out there. That's really what it is, which, I mean, I am an introvert extrovert. So like when I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'm like, hey, I'm Kaylee. What's going on? Who are you? But I also really love to spend time in my bedroom watching Netflix, cuddling with my cat most of my time too. So this lockdown is heaven for me. But yeah, and I also have another question, right? So we're talking about these deep connections with women, like best friends from college, childhood best friends, things like that. But what about girls that you're friends with, but like you're not really that deep of a connection? Like, what about acquaintances? Like, how can you support like acquaintances that you like just know from work or like just say hi to in the hallways? Like,
Mm-hmm. I think that's something I struggle with too, because I do have, working in such a big school, I have a lot of acquaintances. And so I am a teacher. I also have a second job outside of teaching. I am currently taking classes toward my next master's. And I'm also trying to balance the relationship with my family. There's so much, you guys know, there's so much to juggle. So your time is so limited. So it's hard to have a lot of people that you're close with. So like making acquaintances that you're with feel special, and like keeping in touch with them is so important when you are with them, I think. So whenever I'm in the hallways at school or whenever I'm walking on the street and I pass somebody I know, I really try to make sure I pause and give them my entire attention and be like, in this moment, we are together and we don't have much time, but I want to really know how you're really doing and make sure that you're okay and check in. So that's kind of how I keep in touch with acquaintances, is just making sure when I do have time and when our paths do cross, that I give them my entire attention. And then also I trust in fate a little bit, that when you do cross paths with acquaintances or strangers that you've only met once or twice, and they recognize you and you recognize them, there's a reason that happened. And you're supposed to make a connection with them in that moment. Because like, just think about all the different decisions you make every day and all the different things, like from the sandwich you choose to eat at lunch and you walking in that direction to going on a run when you could have gone on a run the next day. Like, I'm a believer in fate, in that when you do cross paths with people, it's for a reason.
I think that's awesome. And, building on that too, if you see that your friend that you haven't spoke to since high school is starting their own business, that's, it's becoming a more popular thing. I've had friends since we started this podcast reach out and say, hey, this is great. Like, I'm going to tell somebody else. So that supporting their passions too is really a low maintenance way to help them out and support them, is, purchasing from their small business, sharing a video that they just posted to YouTube, texting them happy birthday instead of just posting on their Facebook wall. That's something that I look out for every September when my birthday is like, who texts me versus just getting that Facebook reminder, and like,
and
who actually remembers.
5 minutes. Like, it doesn't take that long to take a screenshot of somebody's Poshmark page and be like, hey, check out this girl's page, super cool stuff. Boom, done.
Yeah. I know. Did you guys see that movie that recently came out, The Social Dilemma, on Netflix?
Yeah.
It is so cool.
I know, it's wild. And they were giving the like button so much crap. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, the fact that companies are feeding into our interests and targeting us, yada, yada. It's disgusting. But at the same time, I love the like button on Facebook, because a lot of friends, I've traveled a lot in my life and I've met so many amazing people, but it's impossible to keep in touch with these people on a regular basis who live across the country or in another continent. That's one reason why I do love Facebook and I love the like button, because I'll be scrolling and I'll see that this girl started her own business. This girl graduated grad school. This guy is buying tickets because he's relocating to another part of the world that he's always wanted to. And I love the fact that I can be like, oh, yes, you go. And I think there was a while ago, I saw this meme that was like, even though we don't talk every day, I just want you to know I'm cheering you on.
Yes.
One of the things I love about the like button in Facebook is that's like my favorite thing to do is just scroll through my Facebook and be like, oh, everybody's winning. Like I love it.
Yes, exactly. It on that point, like I find myself, I don't always hit the like button, but I'm cheering from afar and like I'll donate to, your birthday charity, your birthday fundraiser. I won't necessarily like hit that like button on that picture, but there's other ways to support people, as you said. And we're going to talk in a little bit about like the jealousy aspect of, supporting other people. And, jealousy is a human emotion that everybody has that little green-eyed monster, sitting on their shoulder. But to your point from before, Kaylee, one of the books that I had read recently via audiobook was The Defining Decade by Dr. Meg Jay. She's a therapist who specializes in the 20s, and she only serves people that are in their 20s, which is the biggest demographic that we have for this podcast. And she has a whole part in her book about meeting people and, how do you even, you, Kaylee, I take from your experience, you went to a community college where you were stuck with the same people from high school. You were, stuck in a town that you just wanted to get out of and you felt like you couldn't express yourself. I remember that you would talk to me when you moved to Vermont and you felt like you could finally dress how you wanted to dress. You finally could listen to the indie music you wanted to listen to because you didn't feel pressured to, listen to country music because that's what everybody else did in high school. The fact that you can, one thing that people lack that are our age is the loneliness skill. And so I think that's really great that you can, take that self-care, but you always come back to the friends that support you, and your friends are able to like check on you when they just know something's off too. So that self-care is really, and when you do get a new follower or somebody that supports your small business and your Poshmark site, it brings you up, and that it makes you a little bit happier, and it makes you aware that you're doing something good and somebody out there actually like wants to hear what you have to say and what you bring to the table. So yeah, it's so important to just reach out to people, and but it's also great to have that time and not force that friendship too, because that was something that I struggled with in college. Is I would spread myself too thin, and I would try to seek out a best friend because I was at this new school, and I never made that deep connection with a person at this new school because I was spreading myself too thin and I was trying too hard, and it went sour. That person didn't give me the time of day that I was putting all of my energy into one failed relationship and not getting anything back. And it's something that you kind of have to have that recognition as well, as like when is a good time to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I think friend breakups are the hardest. Like I've had a few friend breakups in my life, and oh my God, like that breaking up with like a romantic relationship is one thing. Breaking up with somebody who you poured your heart into as a friend, oh, it's a whole nother world of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, with the social media aspect of it, I am so bad. I call myself like grandma because I am so bad at technology. And like I'm the person who like doesn't like to post happy birthday. I rather text the person. But I'm trying to get better at, if I see something cool on their Insta story, be like, oh my God, I like that. That's amazing. What happened? Where did you get this from? But I remember in high school, I always tried to do this thing where I always said hi to someone I knew in the hallway. Like if I ever passed someone, I'd like give them a wave or a smile and just say hi to them, just so even if I don't know this person on a deep level, they could still feel open to talk to me about things if they ever needed to just need a friend that day, something like that. But yeah, it's just something I need to work on as a person, is like on the social media platforms, how can I be that girl in high school who said hi to everyone?
Mm-hmm. I think being a teacher has made me really good at saying hi to everyone because that's my job. Every day I walk into school and we have this thing where we want every student at our school to feel welcome and validated. So I walk through the halls and every single student I see, I'm just like, hi. And if I know their name, I say their name or I say, hi, friend. Call everybody friend. They're just like,
yeah, right.
Hi, friend. and
I
sometimes I forget when I leave the building that I'm no longer talking to children. So I'll be at Price Chopper or a grocery store and I'll be like, excuse me, friend. Like, oh.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, teacher mode turned off now.
Exactly, right? They don't know me. They don't need this. But yeah, trying to carry that forward and like, yeah, say hi to people.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting that, like, as you said, Katie, you are a teacher who teaches quite young people, like people that you are developing their soft skills in that classroom. So it's so interesting that you may not have those skills fully developed, but you know, the trust is in you as the teacher of those 30 plus children running around that you're able to teach them those social skills. So I think it's so interesting that we're constantly teaching ourselves what we're then, you know, pushing out to the younger generation.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'm really excited that I've like developed in my classroom this year is excitement when kids arrive. Like when a kid walks through the door in the morning, they're often groggy. Like who knows what their home life was like? Who knows if they had breakfast? Who knows if they're still wearing the same clothes from yesterday? Who knows if like there was a fight between their mom and their dad this morning? So I always try when the kid walks in the door, I'm like, so-and-so's here. Yes. How are you? You just made my day. I'm so happy you're here. And the kids have seen me model that every day with everybody coming in the door, that now when I don't do it, because I'm like finishing an email at my computer real quick, another kid, it literally happened this week, a kid walked in a little late and the kids were like, so-and-so's here. Oh, yes, we're so worried. It's like, I love that excitement. And how
imagine if adults did that for adults. Like imagine if that was our world where, and that's what we're trying to do, is like, how can we positively pick each other up? So the last question we have before we move to a quick break is, what happens, like, how do you handle if you meet a person where your values don't align? Like, how do you manage that? And how can you, or what if the person doesn't support you? Like, what if they just don't like you? How do you handle that?
I think, once again, the biggest thing was when you meet people, or you're talking to people, even like your closest friends. Like, what's that Harry Potter quote, guys, that Dumbledore said? Like, it's hard standing up to people, but it's even harder to stand up to your friends, or however that goes.
Oh, yeah.
What is that quote? But anyway, I feel like whenever you're talking to anyone who your values don't align or your opinions or whatever, I think it's still so important that you validate them and listen to what they have to say. Because always where they're coming from it for a reason. You know what I mean? They had a life experience. They have knowledge. Like nobody's just coming out of something or believes in something just because it's a hunch. They're believing in something because somebody they intimately know experienced it or something they experienced. So I think my biggest thing is, even when someone's saying something that I don't agree with, to listen, because you're going to learn something and it's going to be a different perspective that you didn't know about, that who knows might change your opinion. Yeah. So I don't know. I always like to listen. And then if I don't agree, I'm like, wow, I hear your words. Huh. And like, I try to validate it. And then I'm like, but this is what I experienced. Can I share with you what I think? And then I tell them mine. But
I love that, because that's like a form of conflict management that, especially in today's, you know, political climate, we don't always, you know, we put up that wall. Yeah. So how can we break down those barriers? And it makes yourself vulnerable to hear a different perspective, as you said, gain knowledge and opinions from different backgrounds, it creates that inclusive diversity that we're lacking in, you know, as we move towards, you know, picking up our phone screens all the time, as you said, like the social dilemma, nobody's talking anymore. So when we do have that opportunity to hear each other out, to take it seriously and, you know, do it in a calm manner.
So I actually had a situation where, like, I hate when people hate me. I love talking to everyone. I love having happy, sunny days with everyone. But you know, it happens. Like people don't like you, and sometimes there's no reason for it. They just don't. And you have to accept that in this world. And I had a situation where a girl didn't like me for some reason, and I was
I believe that's true. Like what?
oh, okay, but it is. And we were going to the same institution every single day, and we were forced to work with each other every single day. And I was like going crazy because I was like, why doesn't she like me? You know, I'd compliment her outfits when I thought they were cute, and I'd be like, how was your weekend? You know, the usual. I love asking questions, and she just didn't want to answer me. And eventually I just went up to her and I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry if we got off on the wrong foot. Like, how can I make this better? You know, da da da. And like I guess that helped a little bit open us up, but it's still not the best. And even though there's this kind of tension between us, like every time we see each other in public, I try to say hi, but then she ignores me still. And I'm like, you know what? She doesn't want to accept me in her life. That's totally fine. But guess what? If I see her on social media, I'm still going to be like, yes, girl, you got that new promotion. That's amazing for you. Like, I think it's important that even if someone doesn't like you for whatever reason it may be, you might not even know the reason, that you should still hype them up and feed positivity into the world, you know, because it's almost like be the bigger person, like be happy for the other person, and don't let this small thing bug you or let you do like limit your life either. So
yeah, and I think to that point, Kaylee, you also don't know who's like watching and who looks up to you as a role model. So being that model for positivity and just acceptance it goes a long way in this world, because you really don't know, like, if somebody sees you being sour, you know, that negative energy causes a ripple effect, and that's not supporting anybody.
I also believe it takes it takes energy to do both, but I believe it takes so much more energy to be negative towards someone and to hold that grudge than it does to just like let it go and just be like, I wish them well, and like not, you know, like
and it's almost a self-care too. It's almost like a meditation at that point. It's like you have such weight on your shoulders because it takes more energy to be negative. You know, they say they have that saying where it only takes a certain amount of muscle to smile, but it takes double that to frown. You know,
I think negativity actually increases wrinkles. I think that's science. So look it up and cite it.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the concept of shaming other people.
Okay, well, coming back from this segment of friendships, now we're going to talk about girls shaming girls instead of supporting. And this is kind of hard because it's a little negative, but I think it's important to talk about because we all do it. And I know I'm guilty of shaming other girls, especially subconsciously too. And, you know, my partner and I were dating, and I know like I just spill whatever's in my head out to him, and he sometimes puts me back in my place, which I really appreciate to him, because I remember since we do live near a college campus and we do live in a college town, we're always driving the car, and I'm always like, oh, look at these sorority girls with their Lululemon leggings and their Starbucks and squeaky white sneakers, and I'm like, ugh, every girl's the same nowadays. They're so basic. And he was like, you know, Kaylee, they're just trying to live their life just like you. And I was like, whoa, that was kind of that was the most polite way of being like, shut your mouth.
And then he went, bam, right off the pedestal.
Exactly. And that's something I think about every day when I'm about to shame a girl, is I'm like, they're just trying to live their life just like me. You know, everyone has their own insecurities in different ways. And And I think you mentioned this before, Brittany. Sometimes it's because you're a little jealous of them. And I have to say, like, maybe I'm jealous of their their cute, like, their cute bods and their like gorgeous hair and their amazing friend group. Like sometimes I wish I was like that. And then I remember that other people are looking at me and saying, I wish I had that girl's checkered Dorothy themed dress and hoop earrings. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I definitely know that I shame girls sometimes based on their outfits. Sometimes they're being too extra or whatever. And then I remember, like, Haley, stop. Like, they're just trying to be themselves and express themselves. We need to support people.
And I think it's important. Like, we all went through that time period. Sometimes I still go through that time period where you're just trying to find yourself. So that may not even be, that may be exploring different, fashion, different hobbies, different, they may be just trying to find themselves too. And they may not necessarily, they're still going through something and they have their own vulnerabilities in that. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just super confident and then you're just jealous, which I've gone through as well. I don't have the skinniest body on the block, but, and I don't necessarily have, a huge group of friends that, we hang out all the time. So, there's been like bouts of jealousy that I've gone through. I even, been jealous of you, Kaylee, and you, Katie, at one point. Like we all go through it,
Mm-hmm.
I think the important part is like not competing. It's a lot of the times if it goes from just a little bit of like a shadow of jealousy, and then when it grows and grows and grows, that's where it can get unhealthy. And either not talking through it if it's a stranger, or not talking about it with the person that you're having that feeling towards, it can just, that's where the destruction of friendships come from.
Mm-hmm. I find myself, I definitely eat like physical, like surface level, but I also find myself judging people by the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Like when they do something or say something mean or do something irresponsible, or they say they're going to do something, they don't follow through. That's what I find myself getting frustrated with, especially with, this is kind of a tangent, but especially with your close friends. You know what I mean? When your close friends come to you and they ask you for advice and you give them advice and then they don't do it and you're just like,
why'd you ask? Yeah.
And then they come back next week and tell you about the same woe and you're just, you're like, hold up. So that's what I find I judge people a lot by, is like when I hear so-and-so did so-and-so or so-and-so had said something, I find myself getting very frustrated with people about that. Yeah. And then I just really try, and it goes with the same with the physical appearance too. I just try to check myself and be like, you don't know their story. You don't know why they're making the decisions or what experiences led them to this. Yeah. And you don't know. Like, especially with like the mental health awareness that is, I'm just so appreciative of now that you're aware of people that struggle with anxiety, people that struggle with depression. Like, you don't know what's going on in their head. And it's so much bigger than we think. So I just really try to check myself whenever I start getting jealous or irritated with people. So I'm just like, you know what? This is their truth. Live your truth. This is what they're doing. Like, if I don't agree with it, I do my own truth. And I just try to believe that everyone's doing the best they can.
Yeah. I think it's so easy, especially with strangers, because you literally don't know them. So it's so easy for you to be just like, whatever, like, I don't like them, because you don't know what's going on in their life. But you have to be mindful. And especially going back to like online too, it's so easy to just hide behind a profile and be like, I hate your outfit. Like, why are you trying too hard? Like, no, why? Don't, no.
Yeah. Like a big problem is, that's called like being a keyboard warrior, or like being a keyboard cowboy. I've heard it been called too, which I hate that saying, but it's so much easier to be negative on social media than give compliments, you know?
Like, either keep it to yourself and don't post it. Like, I'm always like, before I write something, I'm like, I probably shouldn't post this anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. Why? No. It might affect me in this way, and it might affect the other person in this way, and this way.
The
Yeah.
notes in my phone there's literally just folders of negative things I've wanted to text people or negative things I've wanted to comment that I'm just like, you know what? I need to get this out of my system, but I know it's not meant for them. So I'll just go and I'll just like text in my notes and then save it. And then I'll stumble upon it months later and read it and be like, dear God, like, thank God I never sent that. So sometimes you need that outlet to like release that anger, just as long as you're not actually sending that text or posting that comment.
Yeah.
I like that. I never would have thought to do that. I like that.
I do. What do you mean? Don't you journal with me? I feel like journaling is like another way of doing that.
Yeah, but I write more about like my life experiences and what's going. It's more like family oriented and the things my family's doing that's pissing me off rather than like yeah. There's a few chapters about Kaylee in there, but we won't publish those.
So flattered, Brittany.
But, you know, they're friends are a little bit different and like strangers are a little bit different too. Like I love the saying, if you wouldn't say it to if you wouldn't say it to like your parent or if you don't say it to somebody you truly respect, don't say it at all. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't want it to get out about you, like if you wouldn't tell your boss that you said that and ruin your reputation, like don't say it then. If it's something that can come back and bite you, either personally or professionally, like don't, take a second and think about, if somebody is told that you said that, would you be embarrassed the fact that you said that? Yeah, but
and that's why it's like the first step is it's natural to have the thoughts. It's natural to be jealous. It's natural to have anger toward other people sometimes. The second step is then changing your mindset. And instead of being like, oh, this person made a bad decision or, oh my God, I hate their outfit, change your mindset. And next time subconsciously say like, no, I'm not going to think that way. I'm going to say, hey, their outfit's cool and creative today. And I might go compliment them on it. Or like, I don't know. It's just the more positive you think, the more positive you put out there and the more positivity will be attracted to you in your life. That's my mentality.
And thinking about like random times where I've been walking through, a store or something and somebody's like, wow, I like your makeup, or wow, I like your hair, or I like that outfit. Think about the times where people have come up to you and been like, oh, I like this about you, and how good you feel after that. It's like, if somebody were to come up to you and be like, oh, I don't like your face, or, I don't like that you are wearing white shoes, you wouldn't feel good about yourself. So
I think to piggyback on Kaylee's comment, though, I think you're right in that jealousy does come naturally, because I think it's another way we connect with each other. Like you're trying to connect with each other. When you look at somebody, you're trying to find something you have in common, whether it's something that is a strength you have in common or something that's broken that you have in common. And when you're looking at somebody and they have all these strengths that you don't have and you're trying to find a way to connect with them, I think that's when jealousy develops, is when you're like, oh my gosh, like they're so much better than me. How do I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's, like you said, it's natural, but then having that growth mindset brain being like, okay, like this is not real. Like they have their struggles, they have their brokenness too. Like I want to compliment them and then form a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. I think social media is so dangerous too to be comparing on, because you never know, like you can just manipulate photos so hard these days.
It's not real. It's not
real.
Yeah.
I read this article forever ago. I forget. I think I told Brittany about it a while ago, about how somebody took somebody's most liked picture. People went through their Instagram profiles and took their most liked picture and then posted a paragraph about what was actually happening in that picture.
Wow.
And it was like a picture of a girl who was posing, and she looked gorgeous, had this beautiful dress on, looked like she was in the shape of her life, was holding a glass of wine and smiling. And the paragraph she wrote was like, later that night, my boyfriend hit me. And then there was another one that was like a mom holding her new baby, and like it was like a picture perfect Instagram crib room. And she said like, this was after we had 7 miscarriages. And
wow.
like, so just like, you never know what the actual story is behind that blip of a picture. Yeah. I don't know. I thought the article was really cool.
Yeah. Wow, I literally have goosebumps right now. Like I just got the chills.
I think it's also important to remember that with anyone, really, anyone, you shouldn't like shame or hate on them. especially online too. Because even if you delete it, it's still permanent.
Yep.
That's online 101. But also thinking specifically with like women, identifying women in general, I think society has always pinned us against each other and like always has made it a competition between each other. And I'm like, we should change that norm. We should change that narrative and like start lifting each other up instead of shaming on each other.
Because you're right. Like as women, I think we are more social beings than men. There are some very outgoing men out there. Don't get me wrong, gentlemen. But I feel that as women, you're right, because we communicate more than your average male. Like, wasn't there some sort of thing online about how women say so many words a day? And it was like something absurd compared to how many words men say a day. Like,
Yeah.
we communicate with words, we communicate with communication. And yeah, that can be, oh, you know what? I forget where I was going with this. Help.
I think that could help and hurt us. You know, it aims towards forming that deeper connection, but then that can also hurt us because we speak through our, you know, we speak before thinking about what we're going to say sometimes, and you know, it can really break that spirit of yours to want to form that friendship. It can really, you know, hurt the other person, and you don't know what they're going through, and it can be, you know, break down their mental health. It just let's just not be negative. Let's just all be great to each other, you know.
My absolutely favorite way of supporting fellow females is honestly like if I see you in trouble, I will help you out. You know, there's just like I said, there's an underlying sisterhood. We all go through some of the same problems. I keep seeing these posts online where women will be like, "Hey, if if I don't know you, you're a stranger to me, and you ever come up to me on the street and say like someone's stalking me or I need help, like I will pretend to be your best friend and I will get you home safely." And I think that's amazing. I think we should definitely embrace that more of even if you don't know this person and they say I need help, you help them.
Yeah, I remember pre-COVID. I don't remember if you were out with me, Katie, but pre-COVID, I was out to one of the bars, and this one girl was like slurring, stumbling. We just happened to, you know, connect in the restroom at the same time, and I was like, are you okay? Like, do you have either friends here or, you know, like where are you supposed to be right now? And this one girl was so incoherent that I was like, okay, she needs to go home. So I had asked, like I had used her thumbprint to get into her phone and found her address and confirmed it with her and like paid for an Uber and put her in an Uber. And I was like, make sure she gets home. And I remember, you know, the cops that walked downtown, I was like, can you just verify that this Uber driver is legit? And they did, make sure that everything was okay, and, you know, sent this girl home and made sure that she could get home safely, because that's another thing. Like, why would you ever just blindly assume that this person can, you know, can get themselves home? Or, you know, through the words that she was saying that her friends had left her at the bar. And like, I can't even imagine like if somebody just abandoned me at the bar because, you know, of behavior or whatever the reason, you know, maybe they just left to go home themselves and just never followed through. And this one girl, I had told her, like, please, when you go home, here's my number. I'm putting it into your phone. Text me when you get home. And I remember her distinctly texting me that night. It was like a bunch of word jumble, but it was good enough for me. And I was like, that's good. At least, you know, at least somebody's typing to me. And then the next morning she texted at like 2 p.m. was like, I don't know who you are to this day, but thank you so much. And it was just like,
oh, Brittany,
like somebody was looking out for her. And I think we need more of that, because you hear just the awful, awful stories. Well, you know, the narrative is like everybody jokes that girls go to the bathroom together and, you know,
what are they doing in there for 2 hours?
Yeah, like they're just, you know, you meet each other in a club and you're like, oh my God, like, I love your earrings, I love your whatever. But, you know, at least you're starting that connection. So God forbid something happens, at least you have a somewhat familiar face to be able to like lean on. Yeah, technically they're still a stranger, but there's that unsaid sisterhood where you connected about something and then I have your back no matter what now. Like, you are a friend to me, even though I don't even know your name, you know, you're a human and like, I want to make sure you get home safely.
Word.
Ooh, that was deep. Sorry.
I'm proud of you, Brittany. That was so good.
Gosh, I just, you know, if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't know what to do. And that's the key is like, if you were in this situation, like put yourself in that person's shoes. Like if you're in that situation, like anything could happen, especially in a city, like anything could happen to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we should look out for each other. We should compliment each other's outfits. We should support their small business. We'll log on Insta. Takes 4 minutes. And what else, guys? What else should we do?
I think just taking the time to form connections with people and putting your gosh darn phone down when you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you from my experience, like one of my biggest pet peeves is like inviting somebody over and them just like being on their phone. It drives me nuts. I'm like, we should have just FaceTime then if you wanted to be on your phone that much.
Yeah,
but,
I totally agree.
Yeah. And especially during this pandemic, now that we're in, you know, we're going to be going into this wave. Even if you're not in Vermont, if you're listening from somewhere else in the United States, like we're going to be locked down again. So it's going to happen. Make sure that you're preparing yourself mentally for that. Build up a support system, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your siblings. Just make sure that you have somebody to be able to support your mental health. You know, there's a lot of resources that, you know, whether it's going to online therapy, just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and you have that outlet to talk about, you know, the jealousy that you're experiencing, the loneliness that you're experiencing, making sure that you have those resources handy just in case. And yeah, as you said, Kaylee, let's try to lift one another up. Let's check on our friends that, you know, if you're a single female living in a city all by yourself during a pandemic, you know,
let's
if you know somebody
about it.
Yeah, like check on your friends, you know. It's everybody goes through this differently.
Agreed. Well, Katie, thank you for being here. You've been amazing. Sunshine, we love you. This has been such an exciting episode of Late Probs. Well, thank you for all of our listeners. This has been episode 6. Woo!
It doesn't even feel like it. It feels like we've been doing this forever now.
Yeah, it's getting easier. But thank you for all the listeners out there. We've gotten such positive comments from our listeners, viewers, watchers, everyone. So thank you for the support. Please continue supporting us, Girls Supporting Girls, by liking our Facebook page, give us a message on there, DM us on Instagram, all that good stuff. And hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
Bye, ladies. Thank you.
Lady Probs. Nice. I giggled at the